All right, so today is Remembrance Day in Canada, and I believe it's Veterans Day in the States. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit, specifically something along these lines. So, this is an article out of CBS News titled Survey Finds Shocking and Saddening Lack of Holocaust Knowledge Among Millennials and Gen Z. And it goes on to say a new survey has yielded shocking and saddening results showing millennials and Gen Z have a worrying lack of basic Holocaust knowledge, according to the Conference on Jewish Material Claims Against Germany. The U.S. Millennial Holocaust Knowledge and Awareness Survey, which was commissioned by the Claims Conference and conducted by Schoen Cooperman Research, is the first 50-state survey on Holocaust knowledge among millennials and Gen Z, according to a Wednesday press release. Through the survey, the Claims Conference calculated Holocaust knowledge scores using the percentage of millennials and Gen Z adults who met all three criteria. They have definitively heard about the Holocaust. They can name at least one concentration camp, death camp, or ghetto, and they know that 6 million Jews were killed. 63% of the survey respondents did not know 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust, Claims Conference says. 36% thought that 2 million or fewer Jews were killed during the Holocaust, and 48% could not name a single camp or ghetto established during World War II, despite the fact there were more than 40,000 of them. Well, I didn't know there's that many. Um, in perhaps the most disturbing revelations of this survey, 11% of millennial and Gen Z respondents believe the Jews caused the Holocaust. Nearly 20% of millennials and Gen Z in New York said they thought the Jews caused the Holocaust. The survey which was analyzed by state results found Wisconsin scored the highest in Holocaust awareness, while Arkansas scored the lowest. Um, I'm not going to read any of the rest of it. You can check it out more if you want. But the gist of the story here is that people nowadays, specifically the younger people, they have no idea about any of this kind of stuff. And this is something that has always bothered me about Remembrance Day is that amongst younger people, I noticed, and obviously still notice, and obviously this backs it up, is that they don't really know why we do what we do. And it's for the simple reason that when it comes to public schools, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to all of this kind of stuff, we don't communicate effectively why it is what we're doing. We just kind of do it and give people younger people a lecture about it if they question it. And like I say, the problem is that we don't do a good job of educating people why it's important. Now, why don't we do that? I think there's many reasons. There's obviously many reasons, but I think the biggest ones is that if we actually educated kids properly about this kind of stuff, I think it would conflict with a lot of underlying worldviews, because there's no reason, abstractly, there's no reason not to teach people the reality of it, right? The reason that we don't do it, I think, is that number one, one of the biggest take home points would have to be you should be a lot more skeptical of government and government power than what the average, especially young person is. This is one of the biggest problems in society, I believe, is that we have way too many people that just blindly trust the government. And that's one of the biggest problems when it came to the World War II Germany situation, is that you had a lot of people. I mean, number one, they were democratically elected, and number two, you had a lot of people that had it can't happen to us. That's too tall of a tale for me to believe. And a lot of people, fair enough, got out of it relatively unscathed. Most of them not, unfortunately. But that is a big problem. So again, I think that if we actually taught people the reality behind these situations, is that it would conflict with the worldviews of people, and that one of the main things that public schools exist to do is to push big government, to push socialism, to push blind trust in the government. And one of the biggest take-home points behind um, that people should learn coming out of World War II, and that is to not to have a healthy skepticism of government, especially overreaching government power. Now, what's another reason is that the World War II Germans were incredibly tribalistic, right? They basically set the standard for being tribalistic, right? And the reason that the government doesn't want to teach people about the downsides of being tribalistic, or at the very least, they only want to do it when it doesn't when it benefits them, is that these largely left wing, run schools are incredibly tribalistic, right? They're incredibly tribalistic. They're incredibly tribalistic when it comes to their political views. They're incredibly tribalistic when it comes to the fact that they don't really support having a lot of men teaching kids, and specifically conservative men. So again, they don't want to teach people about the dangers of being too tribalistic because they themselves are tribalistic. Um, now, again, I'm not saying that these people are going to go round up people who disagree. I mean, eventually, honestly, I do think that they will. It may not be to this on the same scale as what happened in World War II Germany, but I do believe if we continue to go down the path we go, that political dissidents will be rounded up and probably killed. And I know that's scary for a lot of people to think about, but I think it's very obvious we're headed down that path. So again, that's another reason. I think the other reason too is that another big reason is the whole political and the whole quote unquote sexist aspect of it too, and that we are taught nowadays that the only reason that women didn't have the vote is sexism, right? That it's just sexism. But the reality is that women didn't have the vote because men were subject to the draft, right? Now, I know in the States, I assume Canada is similar in that um, there was literally a Supreme Court case during World War One, I believe, in that a man challenged the whole idea behind the draft, and they ruled against them, and they cited the fact that you have the right to vote, therefore you got to go, right? So again, the idea that women didn't have the right to vote because of sexism it's a complete lie. It's a complete, in fact, if anything, it's the opposite. In that, to argue that women didn't have the right to vote because of sexism, you would have to argue that being forced to fight in World War One or World War Two was preferable to not having to fight in World War One or World War Two, and not having the right to vote. Like essentially, I mean, a kind of an example would be, you know, storm the beaches of Normandy and have the right to vote, or not storm the beaches of Normandy and not have the right to vote, or sit in a trench all day and get shot at by machine guns in World War One and have the right to vote, or not have to do that and not have the right to vote, right? Like that's basically what you would have to argue, that storming the beaches of Normandy is preferable to not having the right to vote, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. So if anything, the sexism went the other way. Like I say, if now again there was other forms of it too, obviously, but I mean another thing to debunk the whole sexism narrative is that prior after World War One and up until after World War Two, women's numbers in the job force in college was consistently going up. It was consistently going up until after World War II when the baby boom hit. The reason why women were almost exclusively staying home and raising kids after World War II is because of the baby boom. It wasn't because of sexism. It's a complete lie. And it's something that bothers me as well. But again, in a nutshell, we do need to pay our respects. But I think another thing to bring up too is that I think that a lot of the quote unquote freedoms that the people, the men that fought, I mean, largely men, in World War One and World War Two that they fought for, a lot of them are being taken away. Like, do we actually think that the people that fought in World War One and World War Two fought so that we can have free speech taken away? Right? That fought so that we can have half of our money taxed, that fought so that we can have in the States and Canada probably as well, considering the stuff that's coming out, so that our elections can be you know swayed by fraud. Like, come on, like it's complete insanity. Like, personally, again, I don't know, because again, pretty much all of these people are dead, so you can't really get their opinions on it. Is I think that they would be rolling over in their graves, or disgusted if they seen what society is like today. Again, that's my personal belief, and I think most people watching would probably agree that they didn't fight for the society we have today. They fought so we could have more freedom, not less, right? So again, like anybody who like Justin Trudeau, prime example, who they put out their Remembrance Day thing talking about, oh, remember the troops, blah 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 blah. these people are so cringy, like so cringy, and that Justin Trudeau, the troops are asking for more than we can deserve, that more than we can pay, right? We can bring in 500,000 immigrants, we can give them free stuff. God forbid we give a wounded veteran, God forbid we pay for their surgery, right? We'll give someone from Africa or the Middle East, we'll give them $30,000 a year to do nothing. But God forbid we pay for a wounded veteran's surgery. Like this is the stuff that really bothers me, right? I don't understand how it doesn't bother more people too, right? Like I really don't understand. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on those other platforms, Twitter, BitChute, Parler. Make sure you check me out there. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. Um, Very important that you support people that are out there speaking the truth. I think that's one of the biggest things that people can do if they're tired of all the garbage that's going on these days. So make sure you support people as much as you can. So anyway, like I say, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you support as much as you can. I really appreciate any support I can get. And like I say, stay tuned for more.